McKinley Elementary, 5th grade teacher Neely Randall will speak about PARCC tests.
Hi everyone, my name is Neely Randall and I teach at McKinley, 5th grade. This is my 25th year of teaching. And I just want to thank the people who put this whole forum together, because this is not a paid position. This is a grassroots movement, and they've been putting forums on all over the county, and I just really want to give them a round of applause. So I just want to start out by telling you that I'm just going to pretend that we're sitting around a dining room table, and I'm just going to speak from my heart about this. I received a Facebook message from a friend who teaches at the high school, and she told me that when she was in church on Sunday, that a little boy got up in church and asked for prayer because he was going to start taking the PARCC testing soon, and he was really worried about it, and he didn't think he'd pass. And that's just unacceptable. And I have, since last March, really, I just had a defining moment. We were taking the OAAs, and I had a student who had been working so hard. She had made such huge gains, and the test was 2.5 hours long, and it was about halfway through, and she had been working, and I was just so proud walking around. I was so proud of my students. They always work really hard. We've always gotten really high gains. Last year we had some of the top in the state, and they put it all on paper, even though they never see it again, and we can't use it for instructional purposes, and it doesn't help us that year because they get the scores later on, but they try. And halfway through she just started sobbing, and she was just really upset, and I couldn't help her. I couldn't help her with the test. I couldn't really tell her it was going to be okay. I had to just hand her tissues. And I thought, this is not what I signed up for, and that was a defining moment, and I was so weary, and I was so sick of the test prep year after year after year, because there is test prep. You have to, like Matt was saying, at the high school level. There's a trick to passing the tests. You have to teach them the pattern, the style, how the scoring company is going to score them. It doesn't mean if they pass that they're the best readers in the world, and it doesn't mean that if they fail they can't read. What it really means is, could you psych out the test? Could you do exactly what you needed to do for their test? And hope that there weren't scoring errors along the way, which we know by people who have written that have scored. I mean, they look for their scores on Craigslist, so, which is true. They're in 70 different countries, and they're not even an American company. So that was a defining moment, and I started going to legislators, and I know that I've talked with Senator Manning and Representative Boose, and I've talked with the governor twice, and he had me do a conference call with Richard Ross, Secretary of Education, and I've literally gone to every single person I can think of begging for help. And there's a huge disconnect because people are voting on issues when they have just a little bit of information. And I feel like I'm pleading for my students because we're labeling them. And honestly, I would go back to the old system in a heartbeat from what we're going to do now. The PARCC testing, PARCC, spelled backward, is crap. And it truly is, PARCC is crap. And I'll show you, and I'll see if you agree. So I will show you the 5th grade test, which my students, this is a practice test. All we've ever received from the state are practice tests that are now online. My students will be sitting in front of the computer for the same amount of time that we could put them on a bus and drive them to Florida. So they will be taking next week in February already to show that they're proficient, 2 days of math testing. The following week, 3 days of language arts testing. The following week, a day of science testing. So that's 3 weeks. When they come back from math, do you think they're going to feel like doing language arts? I already only get them 7.5 hours a week. Then we're going to have a little bit of a reprieve for a couple weeks, and they will start it all over again. For the post-testing, to show the growth that they made when they weren't testing, which means never, because they were not only testing for a few weeks. And I know it's like, we laugh about it, it's so, these kids, seeing them coming in, hating to come into school. We used to do chocolate tasting parties and read books and read novels and just constant cultural fairs and all the learning that we used to do, and it's just gone. And they're 10. So what I'm going to show you is what the state is expecting my students to be able to do in 5th grade, but it's also at 3rd grade as well. That's when it all begins. And next year it will be PARCC for 3rd grade, like Jackie was just saying. So let's see if I can do this sideways.
You might need to hire James.
Okay, so I'll show you. It's a little slow here. Here's my name. So this is a passage students will have to read. So they'll sit down, they'll read this whole thing, they can highlight things as they go.
Yeah.
Once they highlight it though, if they switch screens, their highlights are no longer there. So then they come over here, the new thing that the state is doing, they're doing A and B questions. So this is a learning curve. I have to teach this to students. They figure out what question A is, and then B answers the answer to question A. B doesn't answer the text, it answers the answer to question A. And let me tell you, the answers are so ambiguous in B. But if they miss A, they miss B. So they go on, and they answer some more questions, and I have some copies of these if anyone wants them. Then it's kind of cool because they get to click and drag. And so, you know, that will be fun for them. Until they have to read the second passage. So they're going to read this. They're going to answer those questions. They're going to go ahead and answer more questions. And more. And then they're going to write an essay.
Hey, Dawn.
Yes.
James had to read and do this essay today.
Oh, you had to do.
Yeah, the rest of the class.
James did this in class today.
The rest of the class has read it before, and since I'm in other classes, like in GATE, I have not gotten to do this, and I read the passage in Over Manifest for the first time, and I had to write in 3rd person.
You had to write in 3rd person. Okay. So I bet that was a blast today, wasn't it? Okay.
Can't wait
So
till tomorrow.
let's look at the. Can someone see that and read it because I'm from
The
the
stories
south.
titled Ida B and Moon Over Manifest both include events that did not happen exactly how the narrators expected them to happen. Write an essay describing how each narrator's point of view influenced how these events are described. Be sure to use details from both stories.
So that's not all the space that they have there. That expands as they type. And they have to toggle between screens to pull all of their data because they have to cite their sources. And then they go on, and now they're going to read about penguins. And they'll keep reading about penguins. And more penguins. And then they'll read some more about penguins.
Well, how much would it be set in life?
And then more. And they have more than one passage that they can choose sometimes. And this will keep going. And then they'll watch a video clip, which is cool, but they have to cite the exact spot where they're grabbing their information from so that they can cite it at 2.3 in the video. And then they're going to answer questions about that. We're getting stuck here. And then we have 3 passages. Now it says, can someone read that again?
Write an essay comparing how the articles by Lorain, PARCC, and Diane DiNapoli and the video describe penguin rescue efforts after oil spills. Support your essay with information from all 3 sources.
So now they're going to toggle between all of these, go back and forth, cite their evidence, write their essay. Then they're going to read another one.
It's just a practice test. Real ones are longer.
They're going to answer all of this. And then I have a couple friends who are authors, and the one friend who's an author, she's been on the New York Times bestseller. She's really an incredible children's book writer, and she is just incensed over this one. You have read a passage from The Growing of Paul Bunyan. Think about how the story would be different if it were told from Johnny's point of view. Write the story from the point of view of Johnny. So now they are rewriting an entire story from another character's point of view, which would be different language, different information, and writers spend years writing a story. And that's at the back of everything else that they've just done. Not to mention, what if they're not a great typist? What if they get headaches when they're looking at the computer? On top of that, let me just tell you that, we looked at those essay questions, but just so you know, that's the genres of writing that they may have to do are not just so straightforward as retell a story. Just trying to find my paper here. There is a on the PARCC website, if you really start snooping around it, it will tell you the different types of writing.
The library will be closing in 20 minutes. If you need to make arrangements for a ride, please do so now.
Right, that's so funny for me.
Anyway, just real fast, because I know, is our other speaker here?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'll just be very quick then. 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students have to know how to write, and this is not an exhaustive list, myths, news articles, pamphlets, character sketches, book reviews, explanations, fables, mystery stories, science articles, science fiction stories, sequels, speeches, how-to articles. All of these things and more are what students are expected in 3rd grade already to be able to write on this PARCC assessment. Also, the lexiles, which means the reading level. 3rd grade, the maturity matrix on PARCC for the passages themselves. Some are 6th grade, 7th grade level. The maturity, that PARCC has even said the maturity level is that high and still puts those there for our students to fail. I could go on and on and on and on about this, and I have been to everyone who will listen. But I want to tell you that this year, I had a student say to me, with just introducing the site, because these students have been testing year after year now, and she said in a piece of writing, I feel like if I pass the test, I live, and if I don't, I die. And students are seriously starting to feel this stress.
Yep.
And that's something that I went to my board and I said, I would like to ask you to put a hedge of protection around the students in Elyria and to do everything you can to advocate for these students. And I said, I don't think I can give this test. I don't know what will happen, but at this point, I don't feel like I can be part of this problem. This is one student's panoramic life now, because we talk about the 5th grade test, but that same student is taking the test in 6th grade, then 7th grade, then the high school level. It's the same kid. It's not just a one-shot deal. This was from a local school district that I retyped. This is one child's life in school and all of the testing. One child, one James, going through year after year after year of testing. And therefore, no one, I feel, is listening to me. I've gotten nowhere with almost next month the whole year of my life fighting. And so I guess it's just going to take all of us. So thank you for being here. I just want to ask that you will do whatever you can to tell people that life is short and childhood is precious and students aren't guinea pigs and teachers aren't puppets. Thank you.